Right now, you're probably on drugs. Specifically, the most successful psychoactive substance in human history. No prescription, no warning label, no one judges you for it. It's in your kitchen, your office, and every street corner. And you've almost certainly had some today. But here's what almost nobody knows. That thing you just drank? It started as a weapon. 60 million years ago, long before the first human took their first breath, certain plants evolved a chemical designed to kill anything that ate them. It attacked the nervous system. It paralyzed insects. It was meant to end lives. It didn't work. Instead, humans took that poison and built entire civilizations on top of it. And the story of how that happened is stranger than anything you'd expect. Around 60 million years ago, plants like coffee and tea faced a problem. Insects were eating their leaves faster than they could grow them. Evolution responded. These plants began producing caffeine, a bitter, powerful alkaloid. In low doses, it stimulated. In higher doses, it paralyzed. And in high enough concentrations, it killed. The plant wasn't trying to be clever, it was trying to survive. Caffeine was insecticide. For tens of millions of years, that strategy worked beautifully. Bugs chewed a leaf, got sick, learned to avoid it. The coffee plant spread across Africa and the tea plant spread across Asia, both defended by the same invisible chemical fence. Then something unexpected walked into the story. We showed up, and we didn't just avoid it, we hunted for it. Around the 9th century, in the highlands of Ethiopia, a goat herder named Kaldi noticed something strange. His goats had been eating bright red berries from a certain bush. The goats went feral. They wouldn't eat. They wouldn't sleep. They were jumping around like something had rewired their brains. Kaldi tried the berries himself, and just like his goats, he felt energized in a way he couldn't explain. He brought the berries to a nearby monastery to share his discovery. But the monks were not impressed. One account says they threw the berries into a fire, calling them the devil's work. But when those berries started roasting in the flames, the smell that filled the room changed everything. With a mixture of chaos, heat, and curiosity, coffee was born. The monks fished the roasted beans from the coals, ground them, and poured hot water over the powder. The first cup of coffee. By the 15th century, coffee had spread across the Arab world. But it wasn't just a drink, it was infrastructure. In cities like Mecca, Cairo, and Constantinople, coffee houses began appearing everywhere. They were called kahve-khane, schools of the wise, and they earned that name. This was the first time in human history that large groups of people could gather in a public place, stay awake for hours, and discuss ideas, without getting drunk. Not alcohol, not opium, caffeine. But the coffee house wasn't really about the coffee. It was about what happened when you gave people a chemical that kept them awake and alert for hours. Conversations reached new conclusions, and arguments bred new ideas. By 1475, the first commercial coffee house opened in Constantinople. It was called Kivahan. People came for the coffee. They stayed for the mathematics, the poetry, the political arguments, the astronomical observations. The Arab world called coffee the wine of the brain. And that's not a metaphor. It was a direct comparison. Wine slowed the mind. Coffee sharpened it. For the first time in history, the default social drug was a stimulant. When coffee reached Europe in the 1600s, something happened that no one could have predicted. Coffee houses became the most important rooms in Western civilization. In London, they were called penny universities. A cup of coffee cost 1 penny, and for that penny, you got access to the most brilliant minds in the city. At a single table, you might hear a debate about Newton's new physics, a merchant negotiating a shipping contract, a politician arguing tax policy, and a journalist reading aloud the day's news. All at once, all for a penny. Jonathan's Coffee House in London became the headquarters of the shipping insurance industry. The deals struck there grew into Lloyd's of London, one of the largest insurance markets on earth, still operating today. Another London coffee house became the London Stock Exchange. Think about what just happened. A plant that evolved to kill insects 60 million years ago was now hosting the birth of modern capitalism. Not because someone planned it, because it made people think faster, talk longer, and argue harder. And then came the Industrial Revolution. Before caffeine, human work followed the sun. You woke up at dawn. You stopped when it got dark. The human body had natural rhythms, and those rhythms were ancient. Caffeine broke them. Factory owners discovered something remarkable. Workers who drank coffee or tea could work longer shifts. They made fewer mistakes. They stayed alert past midnight. A workforce on caffeine was fundamentally different from a workforce without it. The Factory Acts of 1833 tried to limit child labor in Britain's textile mills to 9 hours a day. That was the legal limit. And in Manchester's cotton mills, The engine room of the Industrial Revolution, caffeine made those 9-hour shifts possible for children as young as 9 years old. The same chemical that poisoned insects was now fueling the industrial exploitation of human beings. In England, tea breaks became institutional. They weren't perks, they were performance enhancers. Millions of workers operated heavy machinery on 12, 14, sometimes 16-hour shifts, powered not by coal, but by caffeine. The Industrial Revolution ran on steam engines and steel, but the workers who built it ran on tea and coffee. By the early 1800s, a German chemist named Friedlieb Ferdinand Runge isolated the active chemical for the first time. He called it caffeine with a K, now we call it caffeine with a C. For the first time, humans could name the thing that had been driving them for thousands of years. Here's how deeply caffeine is embedded in modern life. The U.S. military issues caffeinated gum to soldiers in combat. It's standard field rations. We put caffeine in soda and hand it to children. Caffeine is the only psychoactive drug that parents give their kids before school, and nobody questions it. Nobody even calls it a drug. Today, roughly 80% of the world's population consumes caffeine every day. That's over 6 billion people. The same chemical plants evolved to kill insects is now the most widely used psychoactive substance on Earth. Not alcohol, not nicotine, not cannabis, caffeine. Your morning coffee is not just a habit. It's a link in a chain that stretches back through factory floors, London coffee houses, Arab scholars, Ethiopian goat herders, and 60 million years of evolutionary warfare. The plant tried to poison us. We took the poison, named it, studied it, and built the modern world around it. So next time someone offers you coffee, you know what you're actually holding. 60 million years of plant chemistry. A bush in Ethiopia that nobody named, that changed the trajectory of human history. Monks in a monastery who didn't understand what they were doing when they roasted those beans. Ottoman scholars debating philosophy at dawn, London merchants building the foundations of modern business, factory workers staying alert through shifts that should have broken them, an entire civilization that decided staying awake was more important than sleeping. All of that is in one cup, and the wildest part? You probably can't imagine your morning without it anymore. That's not addiction in the way we usually talk about it. That's evolution. That's what happens when a species takes a plant's poison and decides to make it part of itself. The plant tried to protect itself. We turned its defense into our fuel. If you enjoyed this journey into the hidden history of the world's most successful drug, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Every week, we uncover the forgotten stories that shaped the modern world. Because the most important stories in human history are often written in the last place anyone thinks to look. And sometimes, they're sitting in your cup.